everyone. Welcome to Full Range Fitness with Kelly Range, the podcast that empowers you to take charge and jumpstart your journey to awesome. We are broadcasting live on the End Resultz Radio Network from the Perimeter Roofing Studio inside the Country Inn and Suites by Raddison Hotel in Stone Mountain, Georgia. And I just want to say hello to everyone and thank you so much for tuning in. Today, we are on part 2 of our series with the beautiful ladies of Studio 4 Fitness in Loganville. Hello, ladies. How are you?
Hello. Doing good,
Hey.
thanks.
All right. Well, if you want to know more about these ladies, you can go back to episode 1. You're welcome. And we're going to try to fit in some more information because episode 1 was fantastic. The ladies introduced themselves and they are fun and funny and they're moms and their wives and they're busy and they work. And I think you will relate to them just so much. I know I do. And it's worth your while to go back and listen. And we really hit on the topic of working out, fitness, right? It's what we do. We all work at a fitness studio. We all love it. We've all seen the benefits in our own personal lives, and so many other people just transformed from the inside out. I mean, I would say fitness is right up there under Jesus, to be honest. I mean,
Agreed.
It's just a close second. You know what I'm saying? So. Anyway, I have Madison. She's one of our personal trainers. Emma is an instructor, co-owner of the fitness facility, and Megan, another personal trainer. And they are all my friends and my coworkers, and you can learn a little bit more about them on episode number 1. So I hope that you've had a chance to listen to episode number 1 because we are diving in on episode number 2, and we are going to start discussing the importance of, drumroll please, everyone's favorite thing to talk about, nutrition. It's kind of a topic that people want to steer clear of because, to be honest, there's so many things out there. It is so hard to dig through the mud and the muck and really understand what's up and down when it comes to good nutrition because it's something that's been reinvented over and over and you can't reinvent the wheel. Right. So many different spins and takes and marketing tactics, on, the same thing. So we're going to talk about a few of, I would say, the fad diets, a few things that we have heard of people doing over and over consistently, making mistakes and kind of tormenting themselves and torturing themselves and their family for really no long-term sustainability and short-term results that usually end up coming back, any pounds that you've lost coming back, which is horrible. So we don't want you to put in a lot of work into something that is not sustainable for a lifetime. So I'm going to pass the torch to these beauties because they know so much more about it than I do. And I'm going to start with the lovely Madison.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So this is a loaded topic, I feel like. I'm going to talk about fad diets, but I want to say first that if you are doing a fad diet, I don't want to offend you. And I don't want you to feel like you're wrong or that I'm, calling you out for it or whatever.
Yeah.
There's just a different way to do things.
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, there is it's hard to take on something like this because you don't want to hurt people's feelings, but there's also truth. Unfortunately, the truth has been told in hateful ways, sometimes, and it gets a bad rap, but the truth is the truth and you got to dig for it. And so we want to be, the people that in love help steer you in the right direction. And if you've kind of been caught up in some sort of fad diet, which we all have.
Absolutely.
At least once, if not multiple times. I mean, we've been teenage girls before. You're still in your 20s, for goodness sakes. So was Emma. I'm like the granny of the group.
I have one more year in my 20s.
Oh, girl. So old. You better start saving
I'm holding on.
I know. Hang on tight. But, I mean, it's hard these days. And so we're not shaming anybody that's done any of these things. We just want to say, hey, there might be a better way, something that's going to get you better results and sustainability. So there's our plug. We're not trying to hurt your feelings. If you get your feelings hurt, it's probably not us. You're upset with somebody else and go take it out on them. All right, ready and go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So yes, fad diets. And I understand why so many people are so attracted to them because, I mean, I'm in my 20s, so social media, I stay on social media and all of us do in my age, I guess. And that's all we see is if you follow any kind of nutrition page or any kind of workout page, they're going to talk about their diet, and it's typically keto, or they do intermittent fasting, or they do, I heard a new one the other day. It's called the carnivore diet.
Oh.
Yes.
What the?
And she was talking, and it's sad because this girl has like 68,000 followers on TikTok, and all she talks about is eating meat, dairy, or meat, cheese, and eggs. That's all she eats. And she says, don't eat fruit or carbs. And I was like cringing. And it's more sad that there's so many people following that and probably doing it because they think she's credible because it worked for her. It just makes me sad because I don't think, you shouldn't be seeking the internet or social media for your nutrition advice. You should always be seeking a professional or someone that has been in it for years and has tried all the fad diets and they know, what works and what doesn't work. But fad diets are just something, keto and all that is just something to get a quick fix. And that's why so many people do it, is because it is a quick fix. I mean, for keto, you're cutting out a macronutrient. Yes, a whole part of your food diet. So cutting out carbs, of course you're going to lose weight. Of course you're going to lose weight if you cut out, if you don't eat for 8 hours, of course you're going to lose weight. But is that something that you can sustain? Can you do that for the rest of your life? Because I always tell my clients, I don't want to do that for the rest of my life. I want to eat carbs when I want to eat carbs. And I don't want to have to not eat for 8 hours or, eat meat and eggs my whole life.
The whole thing when people come and they're
really
like,
rough.
yeah, it does sound rough. But when they say, gosh, fruit, and I'm like, fruit? People are not overweight because they have been consuming so much fruit.
Exactly.
Let's just put it out there.
Exactly.
Okay. That is not the food group that tipped you over the scale. Okay.
If it came out of the ground and the good Lord made it,
it's good for you.
You're allowed to eat it.
Yeah.
Please
100%.
Yeah, please do. And you can only fit so much fruit into your stomach. Like they're low in calories, high in water, fiber, minerals. Like you could eat 1 lollipop or 3 apples, for instance.
Right, exactly.
Your stomach only has the capacity to hold so many calories from fruit, and it's not going to be a lot.
No. And I always tell my clients that we need to focus on a balanced diet. I mean, that's key, is balanced. I want you to eat carbs, fruit. I want you to eat it all. But the trick is to eat it in your right portion sizes. People say they're eating a balanced diet. I'm doing air quotes. But then they're eating like 2 servings of pasta. And I'm like, pasta is not your enemy. The serving size that you're giving yourself is the enemy. And this is the hardest part of getting down in your fitness journey, is learning how to eat. I understand that is the hardest part. So it takes a lot of time. You can't just expect to wake up tomorrow and be like, okay, we're cutting out all this food and I'm going to be, eating just healthy for the rest of my life. It doesn't work like that. I mean, as women, we have hormones and sometimes we want to eat what we want to eat. And I tell my clients that is okay. But we need to make sure that we're, controlling our sweet tooths, controlling our portion sizes. So I always tell them to look at your food labels. You have to look at, are you eating 1 portion or are you eating 2 to 3 portions? That's when it gets bad.
Yeah, that is depressing. I mean, that sharing size, whatever, M&M bag, I'm like, are you joking? Sharing with who? Myself? Yes. I do have 2 hands. I'm sharing with my right hand, my left hand. This is my bag. I mean, maybe that Sam size, like 40-pound bag could be a sharing size, but yeah, when you start looking, even protein bars sometimes, protein cookies.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
We're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This whole thing is, wait, that's 5 servings.
Right.
I've been eating, 5 servings of 700 calories and a protein something that you thought was okay, but you never really thought about flipping it over. You've got to be proactive in that.
Yes. That is my biggest piece of advice. If you don't hear anything else, learn how to read a food label. And you can learn that anywhere. I mean, you can learn that on the internet. You have to make sure you're seeing how many carbs you're eating, how many, just because it's a protein bar doesn't mean it doesn't have 40 grams of carbs, and carbs aren't the enemy. Emma's going to talk about that, but 40 grams in 1 bar is the enemy. So figuring out what to eat and how much to eat is what you focus on, and not focus on, okay, what can I cut out to be skinny tomorrow or to lose water weight? Because that's a lot of what these fad diets do, are you lose water weight. And then you're like, oh my God, I lost 5 pounds in a week. well, you just lost water weight.
Yeah.
You know,
It's coming back.
It's going to come back. And then when you stop doing keto or, you know, whatever you choose to do, it's coming back. It's all coming back. All of it.
And with sometimes a vengeance.
Even more.
Yes. Yeah. With a vengeance.
Yes. So
it's bringing friends. That
sure
fat
is.
cells. They bringing friends.
and was
That's
it
right.
worth it? Was it worth being miserable, not eating your
tortured
carbs
yourself.
because you wanted to be skinny?
I know people that have cried. I have one person in particular that did 1,200 calories or less, and I'm talking about for decades. That is what she learned. And we had somebody come and speak at the facility, and she was in tears because she had been starving herself her whole life and working against herself. And it was so sad because it was so eye-opening that so many people have been told those same things, you know, taken this terribly low amount of calories and starve yourself. And it's just, it doesn't work eventually. You know, maybe, you know, if you have a calorie deficit, obviously you're going to lose weight. Not all the pounds are created equal, but you know, you see the scale move and you're like, oh, it's working. So less is more, but really less is not more when it comes to that. So I guess on top of the whole keto situation, which will go on a little bit longer, is the extremely low calorie diets. I don't know what you would call it, but
just
I mean,
calorie deficit.
Yeah. And a
Starvation.
That's
starvation.
What it is.
Starvation.
Right? Absolutely. And even when we do things like we'll say it's a detox and people will be like, oh, so we're going to just drink something for however many days. I'm like, if you're getting a colonoscopy, but that's the only time I've heard of somebody actually drinking something like that. I mean, if you want to do it, go on. But
Right. That'll lose you about 5 pounds.
yeah, that'll lose you 5 pounds. And good luck. But what do you have to say to the people that are, you know, coming in and they're wondering why they can't lose any weight and they're not hardly eating at all?
Yes. So it's funny because someone close to me does this and I cannot get through to her that you are not eating enough. That's why you're not losing any weight, especially if you're working out. I always tell them, if you're working out, we get to eat more. Like you have to refuel your body. Like you have to put in what you're giving out. And not eating enough is just, it's torturing yourself. I mean, it just doesn't sound fun to me. And, you know, I used to do it. Like you said, I used to do it. I used to try to get super skinny because that's what I did. So I wouldn't eat a lot, but my energy level was low. It's torturing yourself. So I would just say, you know, what would you say? 1,200?
People do 1,200. I've heard lower than that. The big number that I consistently hear is 1,200.
Yeah, that's not enough. I mean, period, point blank. If that's what you're trying to stick to, you need to eat more. I'm not going to, you know, I think I can't tell you exactly. A lot of my clients want to come in and say, well, how many, you know, carbs do I need to have? How much protein? I'm just like, well, let's just start with the basics. Start with eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then eat snacks in between if you're hungry. You know, I eat I call it quote unquote 5 meals a day, but because I eat my snacks. I eat 3 meals a day and I eat 2 snacks. But I also am very active. So that's why I eat my snacks. But I tell people to start 3 meals a day. I want you to wake up and eat breakfast. Well, I don't like breakfast. Well, that's too bad. Like, I don't like to do a lot of things, but I do it anyways because I know it's good for you. You have got to eat breakfast. Stop skipping breakfast and thinking coffee is your fuel. Yeah.
Breakfast it's like the most important meal of the day. I mean, antidepressants and coffee. Hello, first thing in the morning. I mean, that meal is important.
Yes. The person that's super close.
Me too.
Yeah. Yes. And then you'll drink like 5 cups of coffee and then you're shaking and you're wondering why you can't focus or you're shaking because you just ate coffee for breakfast.
Right.
And the person that's really close to me, she does that. And I'm like, aren't you? Gosh, you have got to eat. Eat your breakfast. That's my number one, you know. Number 2 is eat breakfast. Number 3 is eat 3 meals a day. Like, point blank, that's it. And make sure you're eating enough. You know, a salad that doesn't have any protein on it, that's not a meal. That's a snack. You need protein at every meal. I know Emma's going to talk about carbs, but I always tell my clients carbs in them early in the day. Don't eat them late at night. Carbs fuel you. They are so good for you. So breakfast needs to be a carb. Your lunch can be have a carb. And then, you know, at night, eat your protein and your veggies. veggies most, all the way. I mean, I could go on and on.
So what you're saying is I should consume my sharing size of M&Ms in the morning.
Sure.
Versus the night. Okay.
Whenever you want to,
I hear you. I heard you. Thank you. Thank you so much. So protein,
yes,
for sure, right? So
Absolutely.
when we just are like, bam, quick fire. What did we say on, the last episode? Megan said, protein, you've got to get your protein in. And it's really to just maintain your organs, your hair, your skin, and things like that. It's a lot of protein. And Megan, why don't you just kind of fill us in on what you were talking about a little bit earlier, actually, before we started recording. She was talking about it and it was so awesome. So
yeah, well, totally. So, protein itself is just, building blocks of life. I mean, they help you to build and repair your body's tissues and organs. And it's just something, obviously, that is very essential. You need to keep those things going. But I mean, just to be to the point, like for a sedentary person, just doing their normal everyday life, I mean, they only need 0.36 grams per pound of their body weight. And that's just for a sedentary person. So most people can get that, but that's just to prevent any deficiency, So then you add us, or not even... I mean, we might be a little more extreme, but, just your everyday mom that runs around her kids all the time, goes to the grocery store, plays outside a little bit, or maybe does work at a job that doesn't, like when I worked on the floor, I wore a pedometer occasionally. And I mean, I walked 5-6 miles in a 12-hour shift.
Wow.
So just that sustainability, then you're needing 0.5 to 0.8 grams per pound. And that's just to maintain what you have. So then if you're wanting to grow, you got to increase that much more. And so it's just so important. And like you were saying, as far as the food labeling goes, like once I started reading food labels, then I realized not only like portion size, obviously I was way off, but just the nutrients that I really needed was very eye-opening, for me.
Absolutely.
So.
And protein keeps you full. That makes you feel full. I mean, one of the biggest things we talk about when we do the nutrition challenges, we do quarterly challenges at the studio, and we just kind of clean everything up at least 4 times a year, if nothing else. That's going to help and teach you something. But we talk about the fact that you can consume a huge amount of calories in your body, your brain can still say, hey, I'm hungry. And it's not saying I'm in a calorie deficit. You probably have already consumed too many calories for the day, but your body is saying, I don't have what I need. Right. But if you can immediately start eating in a better caloric intake just by eating what your body needs. So when you're fueling yourself and you're getting those macronutrients, which carbohydrates are one of those, the carbohydrates, the fats, the proteins, and you're giving your body those things and it's getting what it needs, it doesn't surge those signals so much. And just by eating better, you will be eating less. Absolutely.
And just on the whole muscle gain and the weight training that we were talking about the last time, when your body goes into that starvation mode, it attacks the muscle first.
It eats it.
It eats the muscle first because that's
Before
hardier.
the
That's
fat?
what's keeping you going before the fat.
Wow.
When you're in that calorie deficit, and actually I am living proof of that. When we did a challenge one time and y'all know I was not the greatest with my nutrition. And so when I was like really cautious and tried to get the healthy proteins and fats and carbs and everything else, I was obviously in a caloric deficit and I ended up losing a pound of muscle. And that really irked me.
Yeah, because
that was hard-earned muscle.
It goes against, it works against you. So now you're lowering you're lowering the amount of calories that you can take in. And that's why people do have a lot of sort of the yo-yo effect, is that you're doing something that's a fad. You're doing something that's very quick. You're losing numbers on the scale, but you're losing muscle and not fat. You're maintaining your fat. You're losing muscle. And then when you stop, now your caloric intake has to be less than what it was before.
Right.
But now you've stopped doing that. So it's just a big waste of time. Really,
Mhm.
truly.
It's a cycle.
It's a cycle.
Yeah.
And that's why they call it yo-yo dieting, is
Yeah.
because you do keto for a couple months and then you stop and you're like, oh no, I got to get back on it, because that's when I was the smallest, is when I did keto. But then you don't understand that you're not supposed to do that forever. It's not
sustainable.
meant for people, normal people, to do. It was made for, I don't recall what it's
for people that were epileptic, that were having
Right,
seizures.
that's right.
So when did it become this diet that everybody wanted to do? It just,
Well, it's
silly.
all about marketing. That's
is.
it. It's all about throwing it up in people's faces and putting a few before and afters. I mean, you don't know that those people cut one carb out of their diet to get that picture. You don't know. I mean, it's just all about the marketing, the rebranding, the repackaging. And yes, I had a client say, I've joined whatever one of the weight loss places, and they're, controlling my calories and they're controlling what I eat. And so I want to work out, but I'm not allowed to lift weights.
Oh no.
You know why? Because
they're not
the
getting
scale's
enough
not going to
calories.
drop. Well, the
Right.
scale's not going to drop as fast when you're weight training, because you're building that muscle.
Right.
But, that was sad, because I'm like, okay, so you're paying tons of money to these people, and they know good and well that all that they are doing is making you worse off, but they don't care. They give you a big smile and take you a check.
And and what's worse is that we, as personal trainers, we have to convince these people that person is wrong. And they've already, that's our hardest part of our job.
Yeah.
It's like, I went to school for this.
Yeah.
Like, I've been doing this for so long, and you're telling me that I'm wrong
Yeah.
because someone that you just met told you to eat 1,200 calorie or 1,200
whatever
calories
it
a
is.
day.
Yeah.
It's the hardest part of our job, I'm pretty sure, is convincing them that everything they've heard on social media, on Google, is what's right. Like, just because this big TikTok person said it does not mean it's right.
You have to understand, you got to follow the money. That's the biggest thing. You got to follow the money. Is this person being sponsored by whatever this program is?
Right.
Because if they are, then they're getting paid to tell you. And I will tell you anything if somebody is paying me in the background. I will redo this podcast next week, and I'll be like, y'all, you got to eat 1,200 calories a day and don't work out, okay?
Right.
That's money in my pocket.
Right.
I'll be walking in with like some red bottom shoes. But no, I'm just kidding. But for real, I mean, you have to follow the money. I mean, if they're a sponsored person, they're getting paid to promote whatever it is. So, and that's not to say that, I don't know all the ins and outs of that, but you have to kind of take that with a grain of salt, really. As far as that goes. So what do you think some red flags are that stand out? So somebody's like, oh, fad diet, I don't know, I don't even know what that means. What would be like a red flag for me? Somebody telling you not to exercise.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Some sort of plan, nutrition plan, health and wellness plan that tells you not to exercise. That's a massive red flag.
Yes.
What else do you guys hear?
For me, it's the instant results.
Yes.
Everything that you do, nothing's going to be instant if it's the right way.
Right. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
I think anything that promises more than a 2 to 3 pound weight loss per week is a big no-no. That's just way too quick and really unrealistic.
When I'm like making the ugliest face when I stand in the grocery store line, because it's like, walk your way with Sally to 75 pounds off in 1 month. I'm like, what? Did Sally cut off her legs? Because she ain't walking off 75 pounds in 1 month. I'm sorry, Sally. We're not doing that. But it's just one thing after the other. The keto life.
Yeah.
Ladies with keto or living on keto or whatever it is. I'm like, there are multiple publications on this. And it's like, pork wrapped in bacon, smothered in
Butter.
Dipped in ranch.
Today, your breakfast is 1 stick of butter, softened. Yeah.
In your coffee.
In your coffee.
Yes. It's always
And we're
added
going
to
to
the
add
coffee.
coconut oil.
I
too.
mean, so, have people lost weight with that? Yeah, of course they have. And some people actually work well. I do know somebody that does great on a lower carbohydrate diet. And actually my husband can function very well with low carbohydrates. That's the way his body is. And so that works for him. Me, on the other hand, I need more carbohydrates. I'm a muscle burner is what it's called. And so my body actually needs more carbohydrates and I crave them. My body tells me, your body's going to tell you, but just because somebody has results doesn't mean that it's healthy for you. I mean, nobody really cares like how muscular and great and lean you are when you like have a heart attack.
Right.
Like your heart's important. Your organs are important. The inside is important. And so carbohydrates, Emma, like, are they good for us? Tell us.
Oh, yes. So carbs are so good for us. I think that's one of the first things that people think about when they want to start a weight loss journey is, okay, I need to cut carbs. And just like Madison was saying, that will give you the quickest result on a scale because you're losing water weight. As soon as you start eating those carbs again, which you will because your body needs them and our bodies are smarter than us. So they're going to eventually kick us into motion.
Yeah, they're made to survive.
Drive us.
They're made to survive. So survival mode is first. It's going to kick in.
Yep. So if you're trying to restrict, eventually your survival mode will kick in. But yes, carbs are really good for us. They do help with weight loss, actually. So I know we kind of hear good carb, bad carb. I don't really like that saying so much, but we want to get rid of all processed carbs. So anything, think white flour, white rice, all this has been stripped of its fiber. It's been concentrated, so it's really calorie dense, whereas before, so you have a big cup of brown rice, you take away all the fiber, it's going to shrink way down. Well, we still want to eat the same amount. And so we end up taking in so many more calories. So definitely want to stay away from anything processed. White sugar is another processed carb. But we do want to really incorporate those unprocessed carbs that are so good for us. So I'm thinking like brown rice, quinoa, sweet potatoes, millet, like all of these grains, lentils, legumes, beans. I mean, the list goes on, and we don't eat nearly as much as we should. Especially of the unrefined carbs. But they're so good for us. They have fiber, minerals, vitamins, water, all of these things that are going to promote like a healthy microbiome, which is going to stabilize your metabolism. Carbs are energy. They give us energy. And so they're so good for us. And it breaks my heart when people cut carbs. I love carbs. But do not be afraid of carbs. Yeah. They are your friend, especially in weight loss and just in life, a healthy life.
Balance, like Madison said. Yes. So let's quick fire ways that people can make improvements. Today, right now, they're listening to this podcast and they're like, man, I am in it to win it. I'm tired of feeling tired all the time, or I'm just tired of not feeling like myself, or not having confidence, or not feeling strong, or tired of getting winded when I, play with my kids for 5 minutes. What could they do today as far as their nutrition goes?
Okay.
So you got to start somewhere, right? So, I mean, I would just say, just to reiterate what Madison said, as far as breakfast is so important. Jumpstart your metabolism. Go ahead and get your carbs in there because that'll sustain you to lunch or to your snack. And, but yeah, breakfast, but I'm a breakfast person, so I can say that. So eat your breakfast.
So you said get your carbs in there. Could you give us a couple examples of something that you would eat that would be better?
Carb? So recently, like, I'll just scramble up some eggs and do like some sweet potato hash with it, and to me, like, that's so good. So I get my protein and the carbs, and it is filling until I can get to that snack. I got to get to the snack. I can't get all the way to lunch.
That's okay. Emma?
For me, it's all about just simple switches and little tweaks. So I would say switching from processed and refined carbs and just making the switch to a whole grain. So you're not really missing out on anything. You're just making that little switch and it's going to do you a world of good.
Could you give us an example of like
giving
up this and
I would say,
this?
How about give up like Fruit Loops or something for breakfast for some whole grain oats, with some strawberries on top, or just switching regular pasta to whole grain pasta. Just little switches.
Madison?
Mine is to stop drinking soda.
Mm-hmm.
Even the 0 sugar Sprites that you think is still okay to drink, stop drinking them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I would say I'm going to go back to the reading labels. You can start reading labels right now. You could get up and go straight to your pantry and start reading labels and notice things that you've never even heard of. And you'll find things that if you have kind of a question about it, it's probably not the best for you anyway. And start looking at the calories and serving size. You can do that immediately. So I just want to thank all my guests because we did a 2-part series and we have been talking for a really long time and we're going to keep going on. So I'm sure I'll have y'all back soon, ladies. It has been so wonderful to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you for tuning in to Full Range Fitness with Kelly Range on the End Resultz Radio Network from the Perimeter Roofing Studio inside the Country Inn and Suites by Raddison and Stone Mountain. Please stay tuned for upcoming shows. And until next time, this has been another episode of Full Range Fitness with Kelly Range. Thank you again to my guests. And if you have any questions or want more information on the things that we've discussed today or on the past podcast, please feel free to email me at info@endresultz.com. And that is results with a Z. All right, ladies, we're out.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thanks so
Bye-bye.
much. Bye.